Today, we're diving into the latest information surrounding D4VD, Celeste, and some very intriguing developments that have come to light through private investigation. From new timelines to surprising connections, you don't want to miss a single
Now
detail.
to some new clues into the death of a teen whose body was found in the trunk of singer David. A private investigator digging into the timeline of events. Michelle Fisher joining us now with what he discovered. Michelle?
Mark, as of right now, this case remains a death investigation, and all along the LAPD has said the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez had likely been in the Tesla for several weeks before it was discovered. But one private investigator tonight telling us his evidence indicates it may have been much longer.
The last date that we have that shows her alive is January 2nd, 2025.
It's still unclear when Celeste Rivas Hernandez died and how, but private investigator Steve Fisher is among those searching for answers after the 14-year-old was found dead on September 8th in the trunk of a Tesla registered to singer David.
The medical examiner has said she was in a very advanced state of decom.
After investigators found the remains, the LAPD executed a search warrant at this Hollywood Hills home where David had been staying. The home's owner then hiring Fisher.
He wants to understand, exactly, what may have happened and if his house played any role in that.
Using neighborhood surveillance videos and digital evidence, Fisher tells Eyewitness News he's now established a timeline centered around the Tesla.
That car, starting in May, was parked in a few different areas around that neighborhood. And then ultimately, July 29th, left in its final, parking spot on Bluebird. And this happens to be right before the same day that they're leaving on a tour bus to begin the tour for David's, tour.
The remainder of David's month amid the ongoing investigation, which is yet to produce any charges or arrests. David's fans and Fisher left speculating.
They're probably, relying on toxicology to better understand exactly what happened, which means it could be an accidental overdose with a really bad decision made afterwards.
All of Fisher's findings, he tells me, have been shared with the LAPD as they continue to investigate. As for David, the singer and his entourage, who were once very active on social media, have notably been silent over the past month and a half.
Let's start at the beginning. There have been reports and claims from investigators about Celeste, the young woman who has been missing, and her interactions with D4VD. According to sources, the last confirmed public sighting or photograph of her may have been in early January. This timeline has raised questions, and private investigator Steve Fisher has shared some insights that have drawn a lot of attention. Steve has been looking into the places D4VD has been associated with, and has provided commentary on what he's found, including evidence and items in properties connected to him. Keep watching, because this part is key to understanding the bigger picture. Now, reports suggest that by late July, a vehicle connected to D4VD was found in a location that has sparked serious questions. Investigators have shared that the car had not been moved for several weeks, and footage seems to show who may have been the last person in it.
The haunting case of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the girl found in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to rising music star David. And that new evidence, he claims, includes who was the last one driving the Tesla where the teen's body was ultimately discovered.
Sandra Mitchell is live in Hollywood with more on what we're learning tonight. Sandra.
Micah and Cher, that private investigator, told me tonight that he actually has video evidence of the last person driving that Tesla. He says he has supplied it to the LAPD. He also told me tonight an arrest in the case could be coming very soon. New clues tonight about the crime involving the remains of a teen girl found in the trunk of a Tesla owned by rising star musician David.
I think she has been deceased a lot longer than what people may have originally thought. It could go back as early as January or February, which is.
While we don't have official statements from law enforcement about every detail, the private investigation reports and video evidence have created a lot of discussion online. The footage reportedly shows someone wearing a distinctive outfit, which has led to theories about who might have been involved and what could have happened during that time. Let's talk about Neo, who has been closely associated with D4VD for years. He's described as a personal assistant and has been seen in social settings with D4VD and other friends. Photos and videos from that summer show Neo attending parties alongside D4VD and others, including someone identified as Celeste. In these images, specific outfits stand out, and that detail has caught the attention of investigators. While we can't say exactly what happened, these visual records provide a timeline that helps people understand where everyone was and when, which is crucial for anyone following this case closely. Private investigator Steve Fisher has been sharing more about what he found inside properties connected to D4VD. According to his commentary, there were items in the home that raised questions, and he carefully explained that these were not tools for committing a crime, but rather things that seemed unusual to be left in the home. He described them as items that could be used in general household maintenance or cleanup, but the fact that they were there in large quantities drew attention. This has led many online to theorize about what these items could mean, even if nothing has been legally confirmed. Moving forward to the summer timeline, investigators focused on the car again, noting its abandonment and connecting it with video evidence. Reports suggest that after certain parties and gatherings, the car remained parked in the same location for weeks. Social media posts and streaming footage have been analyzed to track D4VD and Neo's movements. These online records, combined with investigator commentary, have painted a picture of movement and activity during that period, and viewers are left piecing together the story themselves. What makes this case even more complicated is the discussion around multiple properties and locations. There are reports that Celeste may have spent time in various rentals or homes, and investigators are trying to determine which places she may have been connected to. While law enforcement has limited details available publicly, private investigation Steve Fisher's updates have been sharing updates that give a sense of how complicated the timeline is. For instance, investigators are looking at photographs, social media posts, and video footage to establish a clear picture of where everyone was at certain times. Now, let's pause and talk about some of the social media activity that has made headlines. D4VD has been reportedly very active online, sharing videos from tours, parties, and events, sometimes including Neo and other friends. Some of the content shows distinctive clothing or items, and analysts online have tried to match these with the timeline of events discussed by investigators. It's this attention to detail that has kept viewers engaged and trying to understand how all these pieces fit together. Keep watching, because the later in this video will connect these social media observations with the timeline of the investigation. One of the most discussed points is the timing of when Celeste may have gone missing versus when the vehicle was abandoned. Private investigators and online commentators have noted that there could be several months in between key events, which makes piecing together the timeline challenging. Photographs taken at parties or social gatherings have been analyzed carefully to track everyone where they were. While we don't have official confirmation on every point, these observations give a sense of how investigators and online researchers are trying to build a full understanding of what happened. It's also important to mention the broader discussion online about responsibility and public safety. People following this case have expressed frustration that certain events happened, and yet those involved continue to be active on social media. This has sparked conversations about accountability, justice, and how online behavior can sometimes conflict with serious real-world situations. Watching closely, you can see how public interest has driven more reporting and analysis, keeping the story alive and evolving. In addition to the timeline and social media analysis, there are questions about parties and events attended by D4VD and Neo. Photographs from these events have been examined for details like outfits, locations, and who was present. These small details are crucial for piecing together the story and understanding the sequence of events that investigators have been trying to clarify. While we can't make assumptions about anyone's involvement, these observations give context to the larger investigation. Throughout this commentary, one of the key figures is Steve Fisher, the private investigator who has shared updates online. He's been careful not to speculate publicly beyond what he can substantiate, but his observations have sparked discussion and theories among viewers. People are trying to understand the significance of certain items found in properties, patterns in social media posts, and the timeline of events. As we continue, keep in mind that everything presented is based on reports and investigation commentary, not court findings. Now, let's circle back to the vehicle again. The footage and photographs have become central to understanding the timeline, and analysts online have focused on clothing, locations, and social interactions. It's a combination of these factors that has drawn so much attention. Many viewers are trying to connect the dates of photos with reported events, creating a complex picture of activity over several months. Keep watching, because the next details tie together the parties, events, and movements in a way that's hard to ignore. We also can't ignore the online conversation about what may have happened at the properties connected to D4VD. Even though law enforcement has not confirmed every detail, private investigation commentary has suggested that there were unusual items in the home, and these have sparked a lot of speculation online. People are piecing together photos, posts, and reports to try to make sense of the timeline and connections between events. Watching this part closely helps understand why so many people are following the case with intense interest. It's clear that social media, parties, and public events have all played a role in how this case has unfolded online. Analysts have matched clothing, locations, and dates from posts to build a timeline that helps everyone make sense of the situation. For instance, the photos of Neo and D4VD at different events have been carefully examined, as well as posts referencing certain parties. It's this level of detail that has helped shape public understanding and commentary about the situation. Another important angle is the discussion about multiple residences or rentals. Investigators have noted that Celeste may have spent time in more than one location, which complicates the timeline. While law enforcement has shared limited information publicly, private investigation updates suggest that these locations could be relevant for understanding the context of her disappearance. Online discussion has focused on matching photos and social media content to different properties, which keeps viewers piecing the puzzle together. It's also worth mentioning the commentary on behavior after events. D4VD and Neo have been active on social media, sharing footage from tours and parties, sometimes including Neo and other friends. Some of the content shows distinctive clothing or items, and analysts online have tried to match these with the timeline of events discussed by investigators. It's this attention to detail that has kept viewers engaged and trying to understand how all these pieces fit together. As we near the end of the timeline, it becomes clear that private investigation reports and social media analysis are the main ways the public has been following this case. Details like photographs, clothing, event locations, and timing are being used to reconstruct a timeline that helps everyone make sense of the situation. While there's no official confirmation on every point, it's the combination of these observations that makes the story so compelling. Finally, as we reflect on the entire situation, one thing stands out. The case remains under investigation, and much of the information comes from reports, commentary, and independent investigation. What we can take away is that timelines, social media posts, private investigator updates, and public interest have all combined to create a highly watched and analyzed story. The names you'll hear throughout this discussion, D4VD, Neo, Celeste, and Steve Fisher, are central to understanding how the events unfolded and why people are so invested. Thank you for sticking with me through this entire update. If you've watched until now, you have a much clearer understanding of the timeline, the social media connections, the investigation commentary, and the ongoing discussions. It's a complex story, but it's also a perfect example of how private investigation, online communities, and careful observation can shed light on events that remain mysterious. Be sure to follow the updates as more information. After examining the summer timeline in detail, one thing becomes very clear. Every event, party, and gathering seems to connect in ways that suggest a complex web of interactions. Social media posts show D4VD and Neo attending multiple gatherings, often alongside other friends. Each post, each video, each photograph adds another layer to the story. Analysts have been meticulously matching these posts with reported events, trying to understand exactly where everyone was and when. This is the kind of detective work that keeps viewers glued to updates, and it's exactly why you want to watch until the end of this video. For example, on July 28th, images surfaced from a party that appeared to include D4VD, Neo, and Celeste. Observers noticed distinctive clothing in these images, which has been highlighted by private investigators as potentially significant. While the meaning behind the clothing remains unclear, the pattern of appearances over consecutive days has drawn attention. People are trying to piece together the sequence of events, and this is where the timeline starts to feel almost like a puzzle. You'll want to keep watching as we connect these dots further along. The next key moment comes when the vehicle in question was reported to have been abandoned. Private investigation commentary notes that it was left in the same spot for weeks. Video evidence and photographs reportedly show someone wearing clothing that matches images from the party the night before. Again, while there's no official confirmation on the specifics, these visual cues are exactly what online investigators are using to try to understand the situation. For viewers, this creates suspense and keeps everyone guessing about the timeline. Another layer of complexity comes from the social media activity of D4VD and Neo after these events. Videos and photos from tours, parties, and other public appearances have been analyzed to match clothing, timing, and locations with the broader timeline. Analysts have pointed out distinctive details in these posts that help track movement, which has become a major focus for those following the story. Watching these details unfold shows just how connected social media activity and investigation reporting have become in modern true crime commentary. Let's also look closer at private investigator Steve Fisher's insights. According to his commentary, there were items discovered in properties connected to D4VD that raised questions, even if nothing was legally actionable. He explained that some items seemed unusual to be in the home, and while they weren't labeled as illegal, the context made people question why they were there. This commentary has sparked a lot of online discussion, with viewers debating what these items could mean. For those who have been following from the start, understanding this commentary is crucial to keeping the story straight. We also need to examine the multiple residences that have been discussed in updates. Private investigation reports suggest that Celeste may have spent time in more than one location. Each property adds another layer to the timeline, and analysts have been using photographs, social media posts, and investigator commentary to piece together when and where she may have been. For viewers, it's important to pay attention to these details because they provide context for the broader story, even though law enforcement has not confirmed every detail publicly. Now, one of the most talked about aspects online has been the social media footage of tours and events after the reported timeline. D4VD and Neo have been shown in videos from tour buses, performances, and parties. Analysts notice details such as clothing, props, and locations that could be matched with previous events. Even if these posts don't directly reveal what happened, they are part of the public record and help reconstruct the timeline. For anyone trying to understand the sequence of events, these posts are essential clues. At this point, it's also important to focus on public commentary and theories. Online communities have been intensely analyzing photographs, videos, and private investigator reports. Many are trying to connect the timeline of events, track clothing and props in posts, and match these with reported sightings or investigator updates. This kind of public analysis is exactly what keeps viewers engaged and invested. It also highlights how complex modern true crime investigations can be when social media is involved. Let's also highlight the role of timing in this whole narrative. Private investigators have discussed key dates, including January, July, and late summer events. These dates help construct a timeline that viewers and analysts can follow. The sequence of social media posts, parties, and events has become central to understanding the story. For those watching carefully, each new update helps refine the timeline and adds more context to the ongoing investigation. Another point to consider is how online reporting has shaped public perception. Video footage, photographs, and commentary from private investigators like Steve Fisher have been widely shared and analyzed. Even without official confirmation for every detail, these updates allow the public to engage with the story in real time. This is a powerful aspect of modern true crime commentary, and it's one of the reasons viewers are staying tuned to follow developments. Let's return to the social media posts and online activity. Analysts have paid particular attention to distinctive clothing, locations, and timing.
Each photograph or video has been examined for subtle details, and online communities have created timelines based on these observations. While we cannot assume criminal involvement from these posts, they are an important part of understanding the narrative as it has been reported and discussed publicly. Watching carefully, you can see how analysts are using these pieces to build a more complete picture. Finally, the broader lesson here is that timelines, social media posts, and independent investigation commentary combine to create a story that is both complicated and highly engaging. For viewers, keeping track of dates, events, and the involvement of key individuals like D4VD, Neo, Celeste, and Steve Fisher is essential for understanding how this story has unfolded. Each update adds another piece to the puzzle, and following the timeline closely helps make sense of it all. Before we wrap up, let's remind ourselves why it's important to watch the full timeline and commentary. Every photograph, video, and update provides context and adds depth to the story. Even if law enforcement has not publicly confirmed every detail, the combination of investigator commentary and online analysis creates a rich, layered narrative that keeps people coming back for more. So make sure you pay attention to the dates, the photos, and the details discussed here. It all matters for understanding the broader story. As we close this update, it's clear that this is a story that continues to evolve. Private investigator commentary, social media analysis, and public discussion all play a role in shaping the narrative. Keeping track of D4VD, Neo, Celeste, and Steve Fisher's insights helps viewers stay informed and engaged. And remember, as new updates emerge, the story will continue to develop, so it's important to stay tuned, analyze the timelines, and watch closely for each new piece of information. Thank you for sticking with me through this detailed update. If you've made it this far, you now have a clearer understanding of the timeline, the social media connections, the investigation commentary, and the ongoing public discussion. This story is far from over, and as more information comes to light, it will be fascinating to see how the narrative evolves. Stay attentive, stay informed, and keep following the updates.
Now, let's take a closer look at the timeline in more detail, starting from the early days of January. Reports indicate that this is the last known period when Celeste was seen or photographed publicly. Private investigator Steve Fisher has repeatedly highlighted this time frame, noting that it's crucial to understanding how the events might have unfolded. Analysts online have pored over every photograph and post, trying to determine patterns or connections during this period. This is where viewers need to pay close attention, because small details like the clothing she wore, the locations she visited, or the people she interacted with are all pieces of a much larger puzzle. Moving into the spring months, the timeline becomes more complex. While there are fewer public sightings of Celeste during this time, social media activity from D4VD, Neo, and their friends provides indirect insight into their movements and interactions. Analysts have focused on events, parties, and gatherings that were documented through photos and videos. Even though these posts don't directly clarify everything, they help build a picture of the social environment surrounding D4VD and Neo, and by extension, the context in which investigators are piecing together the narrative. For viewers, keeping track of these subtle cues is essential. By late July, attention shifts to the vehicle that has been heavily discussed in reports. According to commentary from investigators and public analysis of social media posts, this car had been left in a location for an extended period. While we don't know all the specifics, videos reportedly show someone wearing a distinctive outfit, the same outfit that appeared in images from a party the night before. Online analysts have been connecting these observations to create a timeline of activity, and this is one of the reasons the story has captured so much attention. Watching carefully, you can start to see the connections forming between these events. Another critical element that has kept viewers engaged is the social media activity surrounding the events. D4VD and Neo have been posting videos, photos, and live content that document their tours, parties, and day-to-day lives. Analysts have been paying close attention to props, locations, and clothing that appear in these posts. While it's important to note that none of this is evidence of wrongdoing, the patterns created by these posts have become central to understanding the sequence of events. This is why people following the case are examining every detail with such focus. Steve Fisher, the private investigator, has also commented on the properties associated with D4VD. Reports indicate that there were unusual items in some of these homes. While Fisher has been careful to clarify that these items are not illegal or proof of any crime, their presence has raised questions among online analysts. These observations have fueled discussions about what might have been happening behind the scenes. As viewers, paying attention to these details is crucial for understanding the investigative narrative that has been unfolding online. As the summer progressed, multiple parties and events became central points of analysis. Photographs from these events show D4VD, Neo, and other friends, including Celeste, at different locations. Analysts have highlighted distinctive clothing, timing, and other small details in these images to help piece together a timeline. For anyone following the case, it's fascinating to see how much information can be derived just from careful observation and cross-referencing dates, posts, and videos. This is part of what makes true crime commentary so compelling. It's also worth noting that the discussion around multiple residences adds another layer of complexity. Reports suggest that Celeste may have spent time in more than one location. Private investigation commentary has attempted to clarify where she might have been, but much of this is based on indirect evidence like social media posts and observations from those following the story. The presence of multiple locations makes it more challenging to track the timeline, but also adds depth to the narrative for viewers who are piecing everything together. One of the most intriguing aspects of this story is how social media activity intertwines with the timeline. D4VD and Neo's posts from tours, parties, and other public appearances have been closely examined. Analysts have identified clothing patterns, locations, and timing that could be correlated with other events. While none of this confirms anything legally, it has become a key part of understanding the sequence of events as reported by private investigators and online researchers. Watching closely, you can see the narrative unfolding through these indirect clues. Public reactions have also played a big role in keeping the story alive. Online communities have been intensely analyzing photographs, videos, and commentary from private investigators. Every small detail, from distinctive clothing to subtle behaviors in videos, has been discussed and theorized about. This kind of community analysis has become a hallmark of modern true crime commentary, and it's why viewers stay engaged and invested in following every new update. As we move into August, social media posts become even more critical. Analysts have been piecing together events from online videos and photographs, trying to match them with the timeline established by private investigators. Each post adds context, whether it's showing a party, a tour bus, or a casual social gathering. Observers are trying to determine what these posts reveal about the timeline of events, the people involved, and the connections between them. Keeping track of this activity is essential for anyone trying to understand the full story. At this stage, the commentary also focuses on how patterns of movement and activity create a broader narrative. Private investigator updates, social media analysis, and public discussions are all being combined to track the sequence of events. Each photo, video, or report adds another layer to the story. For viewers, the suspense comes from trying to connect these details and make sense of the larger picture. Another point that keeps viewers hooked is the discussion of distinctive clothing and appearances in photographs. Analysts have repeatedly noted outfits worn by D4VD, Neo, and others at events during July and August. While the meaning behind these outfits is speculative, they serve as visual cues that help piece together the social timeline. Observing these details gives viewers a sense of how investigators and online analysts are working to reconstruct events day by day. In addition, commentary has focused on the properties and locations associated with the people involved. Private investigator Steve Fisher has highlighted certain items in these locations that appeared unusual, even if they were not illegal. Observers online have used this information to theorize about patterns of activity, which helps form a more complete understanding of the timeline. Keeping track of these observations is important for viewers who want a detailed, comprehensive view of the unfolding story. Finally, as the summer comes to a close, analysts have been reviewing all social media posts, photographs, and investigator commentary to create a cohesive timeline. This includes matching parties, events, and tours with specific dates and activities. By doing this, online researchers have been able to provide a chronological narrative that helps viewers understand how events may have unfolded. This level of detail keeps the story compelling and ensures that viewers remain engaged until the very end. At this point, It's clear that following the case requires attention to multiple factors: social media posts, private investigator updates, timelines of events, and analysis of clothing, locations, and activities. For viewers, understanding these connections is essential to following the narrative. Every new post, video, or photograph adds another piece to the puzzle, and observing these details is key to staying informed about the ongoing developments. As we approach the end of this segment, one thing is obvious: the story is far from over. Private investigation commentary, social media analysis, and online discussion all continue to shape the narrative. Names like D4VD, Neo, Celeste, and Steve Fisher remain central to understanding how the events unfolded. For viewers, following every update and analyzing the timeline carefully is crucial to staying up to date with the story as it develops.